Grab some coffee, a Mountain Dew, maybe both. A storm is brewing. The Brainstorm. Welcome to The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike.
Hey, recently a good friend of mine and client, Alex Kirby with Trifecta Lawn Care and Landscape. He is an awesome client, has a really good business, and has a really cool podcast. He invited me to join him on that podcast. We like to show you some of those clips, some of the highlights of that. You can subscribe to our podcast at thebrainstormradio.com and check it out.
What's going on, everybody? This is Alex Kirby, host of the Trifecta podcast. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode, this week of our new season, episode number 2, season 2. And I wanted to introduce you to our guest today, who I think you're going to learn an incredible amount of information from, and that is Mr. Matt Thompson, owner of Splash Omnimedia here in Lexington, South Carolina. What's going on, Matt?
Hey, Alex, I appreciate the invite to come on the show with you.
Well, you should have me on your show next, because for our listeners who don't know, you have a way bigger podcast than we have, and it's going really, really good for you guys. How long have you had the Brainstorm for?
Probably about 7 or 8 months, and it's a live radio show on Monday mornings from 9 to 10. It's also a podcast, and we video it, but it plays well with all the other stuff that we're doing.
That's right, and we'll get into that. And we're actually recording from your studio here in Lexington, which for most people they hear our horrible sound from our little studio that we have. And hopefully they can notice the difference, and you're amazing. I mean, we're sitting here, guys, and it's absolutely beautiful. So share a little bit about your podcast so that our listeners can be connected once they get off from listening to this, because yours is going to be a continuation of what we talk about today when it comes to marketing and stuff like that. And then share a little bit about you, man. I mean, people are going to be shocked, I think, when they hear about what the information you have today, because it's an untapped arena when it comes to talking and understanding marketing.
Yeah, marketing, advertising is big words. First of all, marketing and advertising, people use those words synonymously, right?
Right.
And so they mean something completely different, believe it or not. But most people just use them as the same thing. Marketing is a much bigger word than advertising. Marketing is who is the target market, like identifying the target market and creating a full strategic plan associated with your business.
Right.
So who's the target market? What's the message? Where do those people shop? How to convey the message to them? I mean, it really includes everything associated with the plan itself, the strategy. What's the goals? What's my product? What's my service? How much is it priced? What's my ROI on it? Advertising is actually pretty simple. Advertising is simply the tactic to convey the message. Social media, that's advertising.
Right.
TV, radio, print. All that's advertising, but what are you advertising? Who are you advertising to? That's marketing. That's the reason why I don't like to use those two words synonymously, but so many people do that it just causes us to say marketing and advertising agency.
That makes a lot of sense. And so that's a great intro to, kind of give a scope of you. So, you've had a company for are you guys over 20 years now? Or 15?
No, we're running right at 15 years.
Right at 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so give our audience just some insight on who you are, what you guys do at Splash Omnimedia, how long you've been doing it, and then maybe some of your customers and the ways you serve people.
Yeah, so Mike White and myself opened up Splash Omnimedia. It was just a small, more of a consulting agency, if you will. And what we quickly found out, and if you think back, 15 years ago, what was going on in the industry, soon to follow after we opened was the 07-08 real estate crisis, which was just horrendous from a revenue perspective, and just that whole recession really hit hard. But if you think back about 15 years ago, the internet was really just getting going, and the way that cell phones, connectivity, and just everything, it gets so good so fast.
It exploded.
It exploded. So it's hard to even think what 5 years look like versus 15 years ago, right? But that's our job. I mean, what we realized was that if you were a business owner, Alex, like yourself, let's say with Trifecta, if you wanted a good graphic designer for whatever, vehicle wrap, shirts, logos, whatever, you had to call a graphic designer. If you wanted video, you had to call a video team. If you wanted a website, you had to call a website team. If you wanted social media which was pretty much non-existent. Matter of fact, I don't even know.
It was just sprouting.
It
at
was
the time.
just
MySpace
sprouting.
and stuff like that.
I mean, so if you wanted that type of knowledge, you had to contact somebody else. In other words, a business owner, you had to contact all these different people, right?
And try to get them on the same page.
Right. And so that's the first thing we saw. We saw a major hole there because here's one thing for sure. None of those people agree with each other.
Right.
They literally do not agree.
Different messages, different ways they wanted to do stuff.
Right, because they were thinking about what their direction is, right? Like the graphic designers just thought about how do we make it look good, right? Where is the search engine? So they were looking at how is it structured, right? How does it work? They had no creative. They could care if it, they could care less if it looked good. The designers could care less if it worked, right? And so what we did is we established Splash Omnimedia as a
catch-all.
kind of a gap filler, right? Like we wanted to consult and help a business owner. So the business owner only had to make one call.
Makes sense.
That was us. We'd take care of the rest. So we were we didn't come at it from an advertising perspective. Like a lot of people that open up an advertising company, Alex, they will have left the radio business to get into the advertising business. Right. Or left the TV business or left the digital business. The problem is all of their education, all their history was spent in that vertical, right? In that medium. And so what do? They automatically push their clients back to the thing they know best.
They revert back to what they know.
Right. We're completely unbiased in our approach. That's what makes us good.
Man, that's good. And so you guys, your team is not small. So again, I think so many people, and I had no idea until like 3 or 4 years ago. I wasn't, I'm a millennial, but Instagram, Facebook, to me, that was just something to have, a resource. It wasn't a tool, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so until a couple years ago, we went to this big conference that a lot of landscapers know. It's called the GIE in Louisville, Kentucky.
I'm familiar with that.
Huge, just like the Super Bowl. And I left there seeing all these guys with cameras and all these guys taking videos and all these companies with large, setups to try to attract people. And I left there thinking to myself, wow, I have no idea what marketing and advertising actually means. And so kind of got introduced to you guys along when I got back from that trip. So give people an idea of a scope of how many team members you guys have, how many clients you guys are serving maybe from a day-to-day basis, the types of things you guys do, so that people, our audience hopefully can understand or begin to start understanding just how much goes into being an effective company on your end, and then how much it takes on a business side for the commitment you need to have, good ROI when it comes to marketing and advertising. Yeah,
that's good. That's really good information. And I completely agree with you. Most people who dive into really taking their business to the next level has attended some type of trade show where something resonates and clicks there, right? And so I can picture you, because every single time I go to a conference or a trade show, man, it's something I'm like, I always take something from it. They're really special. They're expensive, but they're really special. Like that one thing that resonates and clicks can make the difference in your business long term. It literally can make the difference.
Right.
And so you really want to invest in yourself and in your business and go there and absorb things, have an open mind, something that you are completely against. If someone starts telling you why they're for it, listen, right? Have an open mind, understand, and just absorb the information. Then you can make an educated decision that you're still against it if you want to.
You can process it later on.
Yeah, absolutely. But so what happens in that particular case, you came back and you said, man, I'm really going to take my business to the next level, just because of all the lights and the things that you saw. It just motivated you.
Absolutely.
Probably.
It did.
Right.
And I saw that it had to be a commitment thing. You can't just dabble into it.
You can't dabble. It's not stick your toe in, see if the water's cold. It's dive into the deep end and let's go, man. It's with business ownership, especially in your industry, we serve about 400 or something clients. Actively.
Wow.
Okay. All across the nation.
Right.
And we have about 40 something full-time team members here. And every single thing under the sun, from video to digital, and digital is a big word. Mm-hmm. So like search, social, email marketing, apps, website development, design. We do everything in promo and apparel. So if you want to go to a trade show yourself, like a home show, a local home show, we create a strategy specifically around a home show. We will design everything from your actual trade show booth to your giveaways where are you going to drive them to? Matter of fact, we'll geofence the trade show to where when people cross that threshold, we'll geofence them and serve them an ad specifically for you. And then when we get them to click on it, because we know everybody's walking through there on their phone, right?
Right.
When they get them to click on it, then we'll retarget them for the next 2 or 3 weeks, giving you a 2 or 3 week basically
window
of that trade show.
Right.
So instead of 3 days, now you have 3 weeks of trade show.
Pretty awesome.
Right. And so we're just real strategic in our approach. And so that's kind of how we work here internally. When someone signs with us, they're assigned a client manager. That client manager has a full team, graphic, web, digital, so on and so forth. And we sit down on every single client every single week.
Right.
And we create a strategy. So what we do is we become an extension of that team. Now, this show is not an advertisement for us.
No.
So the reason why I want to say all of that is because if you really want to grow your business, if any of your listeners want to grow their business, then it doesn't matter if you hire us or it doesn't matter if you bring someone inside.
Right.
What I'm saying is everything that I'm telling you, you need to do, whether you hire us, whether you hire someone else, or you do it yourself.
Do it in-house.
Those are the things you got to do.
And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because, our Instagram has gotten up to, on our Trifecta Lawn Care page, over 7,000 people. So we're starting to get a lot of listeners from the Trifecta podcast, which is up to 2,000, ask, how can I do better in marketing and branding and social media and stuff like that? And I continue to have these conversations with guys, trying to get them to understand it's a commitment. It takes hours a week. Like, it's not something you can just, get one of those apps and put like your lettering on top of something and make a cool little picture and then post it for effectiveness to actually occur.
No, you're exactly right.
And to have real results,
Right.
not a couple more likes on your post from guys who are your friends, right?
Right.
And so, we, like, full disclosure, we're about to launch a new website through you guys on Friday.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, we're really excited about it because, we had one that we homemade essentially, which wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible.
No, it wasn't
And
bad.
a lot of guys can do it, from home. But that commitment to, are you reaching all of the customers in your area, is something that I think you guys do well, and I think that our listeners need to understand is the toe in the water thing's a perfect example. You have to be committed to it. So, all right, let's move into this. So can you talk about quick, over the next few minutes, something that in the marketing field that's really misunderstood, something that like people just don't understand or it's misunderstood, you can clarify what exactly it is by definition so that people can understand.
Yeah.
Maybe they take that from this podcast so they're like, man, I have so much more of a clear vision of how I can reach customers in my area, even if I don't have a big budget, and then why it's so important. Because that's one where I think, for the last 20 years, when people think marketing or advertising, they think billboards, they think shirts and T-shirts and apparel, and they think maybe promo commercials from those guys who are trying to get you ambulance chasers, right?
Right. Yeah.
Those guys on TV who are like, call us if you're in a wreck.
Yeah.
And so can you, bring some light to that, misunderstandings, what it is and why it's important?
Yeah, so I think probably the biggest misconception of marketing advertising is that it's super expensive. Right? That's the first thing. The second thing is people sit down and they're always trying different things. So taking a real shotgun approach, like let's put a blindfold on and start throwing things against the wall and take the blindfold off and see what's stuck later, right?
So no strategy really.
Yeah, and so what's happening is here's what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, Alex.
Sure.
What I'd like to do is just talk about priorities.
Yep.
Okay? The priorities of marketing is this. It's the yellow page theory. I call it the old school yellow page theory. When all that was there was the yellow pages, right? It limited where you wanted to advertise. It was automatic. I wanted to advertise in yellow pages. Right? And so, but why? The reason why is because you want to be where everybody's looking for you. Period.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be where everybody's looking for you.
And at the time, that was the only resource.
That was it. That's all it was. Well, the internet, the digital world is now where everybody's looking for you. I don't watch TV to see the commercials. I don't listen to the radio to see the commercials. I don't ride down the street to look at the billboards. I'm going somewhere. I don't read a magazine to see the advertisements. I go online to find the service that I want, right? I don't even look at social media to see the advertisements, right?
Right.
If I'm going to want to find a service, the yellow pages, or what yellow pages used to be, That's the search engine.
Which is now Google.
Which is the search engine,
Yeah.
period, right? Google is the dominant force.
Right.
There's plenty of directories, online directories. Google's an online directory, and there's plenty of directories, but let's say Google is the gorilla in the room, if you will.
Right.
And so you want to make sure that that's the first thing you're doing. You're going to be where people are looking for you, right? There's 3 things going on that home page. There's Google Guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new, probably within the last 120 days type of thing, last 3 or 4 months type of thing. It's really still in beta because not all industries you can be there, and it is in depth. Like
If I can jump in, that's essentially they're trying to take over like Home Advisor.
That's what it
which
is.
a lot of our guys, because I say that because a
Yeah.
lot of our guys get contacted.
Yeah.
Lawn and landscape guys by Home Advisor, like
Home
on a day-to-day
Advisor,
basis.
Angie's List,
Angie's List, yeah.
all those used to be excellent online directories to be in.
Right.
Unfortunately, in my opinion, this is just
Sure.
my opinion, right? And if an Angie's List or a Home Advisor rep is listening to your podcast, they're probably going to be saying, "Well, I'm not going to do business with Splash Omnimedia Agency, that's for sure." But they become really a collection agency where they pound you, man. Hey, spend this. Oh, well, we have your competition going to do it, and it's just ridiculous. But my deal is you got Google Guarantee at the top, then you have pay per click, then you have the Google Local, Google Maps, Google My Business type of thing. It's all kind of the same thing, and then you have SEO. You have the organic listings. SEO used to be the number one thing you could do. Now, because of the redesign about a year and a half ago, paid ads actually work really, really well. And rightly so, because 90% of Google's revenue
Right.
comes from paid ads.
Right.
So why wouldn't you, if you're Google, if you and I were Google, right, we would love the fact that we were Google. And so that's what we would do. We would redirect so most people would participate in paid ads, but more people are going to it.
That makes sense. Well, let's take a break here, and we're going to head into a segment where we can thank our show sponsor. Okay, guys, we're going to jump right back in talking about priorities with Matt. So, Matt, keep it going, man.
Yeah, so we were talking about, right before break, we were talking about priorities of what you should and what you should not do and from a budget perspective, right? And so if you have a Nike budget or Budweiser budget, then I'm going to lay out a plan that's going to be all-inclusive, right? I mean,
Right.
we're going to be able to do it all. But most of us don't have that type of size budget. So what I was saying is you want to be where people are looking for you. That's online. That's the search engine. That's number one. Number two is social media,
Right.
especially right now, Alex,
Especially
because
right now.
it's up over 100% right now
Of usage since
of
the
usage
virus.
because of the virus, the pandemic. So everybody's sitting at home.
Wow.
Everybody wants a nice looking lawn, for instance. So, man, from a landscape perspective, you absolutely want to be in social media. Why you don't use social media to look at the ads? They're probably the very best in what I call distractive advertising. Like, so if I'm riding down the road, a billboard is distractive advertising, right? It's going to distract me from what I'm actually doing. Then it has to resonate with me. Then it has to be designed to where it stays with me. It gives me thought process. It makes me really think and want to react to it. That's what the good distraction advertising is. Social media is a great place for that right now, especially, but so on and so forth. Once you exhaust online, there's one thing that I always want everybody to do.
What's that?
Email marketing. I actually just received an email from you
Yep.
yesterday or today. I can't remember.
Yeah, we made a commitment about last 4 months to really run on that.
Email marketing. And the reason is because you already have a relationship with the people you're sending an email to. Everyone out there is probably saying, dang, man, I always get these emails all the time. I do nothing but delete them. And that's, the reason is because people are spamming you. The difference between email marketing and spam is simple. Spam is when you have zero relationship with the people you're sending an email to.
Random.
I bought a list. I have no idea who you are. And I'm just going to blow you up, right? That's spam. Yeah, that's very ineffective. Email marketing. If we're in the chamber together, if we're in a networking group together, if you've done business with me before, that is email marketing. The DMA, the Direct Marketing Association, just last year was a $42 return on every $1 invested in email marketing.
Wow.
It is still the best. Why? Because I can send an unlimited amount of messages to an unlimited amount of people, giving a cohesive, consistent message to all those people all the time, and I already have a relationship with them.
How many people do you think don't take advantage of that? Do you have a statistic
I
on
will
that?
bet you 70+% of all businesses simply just forget about their existing customer base.
Right.
They're always going after new clients. And I can tell you that if you will, let's play this. If you have a very small marketing budget, forget about new clients.
Right.
Forget about new clients. New clients will come just from communicating well to your existing client base.
Woo, buddy, that's good. That's so big. I'll give you an echo on that. Last year, I think we had a meeting, me and you had a meeting about formulating our lawn care business when it came to plans.
Right.
And we decided to go to 3 different types of plans to simplify our customers so they could understand. We had a percentage, I think, in the range of 50 to 60%, if I remember correctly, that just from our current customers who upped what they paid last year, only because we communicated a new plan style to them via direct mail, or excuse me, direct email marketing, and giving them more options that they didn't even know they had because we never told them that.
Yeah.
And so now they're letting that message out to other people.
Right.
And so exactly what you're saying is you don't have to have a budget, you know.
Yeah, I mean, forget about attraction-based advertising, which is attracting new clients. I'm telling you, if you will communicate effectively and efficiently and consistently to your current client base in a multitude of ways, if you'll send an email to them, send a gift pack to them, like after you land them, how about shoot a video? It's simple on your phone. How about send a video? And every new client you land in the next week should receive a video of you thanking them, whether it was you that landed them or not. Right? There's a touch, boom, touch, and that should come in an email. Where you should, what should you do? Right? You should ask them. They'll never be happier than they are right now.
Right.
I just hired a new landscaping company. I'm more excited now than ever before. Why? Because you've just given me hope that you're going to take care of my property. Don't wait 6 months from now, because any screw ups the landscaping company could do, that's going to resonate
Sour
most,
taste
right?
at that point, right?
They're happiest right now. Send them the video and ask them a couple things. Thank them for the business. Ask them for a 5-star review, and ask them for a referral of your neighbor.
This is good.
Drive them to a landing page that you create on your website. Like click here, click below the link. Drive them to just a form that says refer your neighbor, get a $5 gift certificate to Starbucks. Right?
Big time.
Just like that. If you do just that small plan that costs you little to nothing, right?
Yep.
Then I'm telling you, your business will grow exponentially. And I don't care if you are a large business or a small business, you should take that advice and do that.
That's gold. This is the entire reason why we're having this episode with you on, is because that doesn't take anything but commitment and drive and determination and intentionality. Like that's what I'm trying to get, through this podcast. That's why we started this podcast, is for these types of discussions, because, and I'm getting fired up. I can feel my anxiety or my passion rising, because all business needs to be is you to have a plan that you didn't ever consider.
Right.
It's not just the service you're providing.
Right.
It's the service in terms of customer service and relationship, and making people feel appreciated.
There's always one key component that will come back: communication. Communication is the key to success.
So
the difference is there's lots of ways to communicate. Right. You can do text messaging. Like before, a lot of people use some type of operating system or some type of CRM or billing, invoicing system. Hey, man, if you got a system that adds a module that allows you to text message, then a text message should come and say, Jim is looking forward to being there this afternoon. Text message should go out tomorrow. It says, Jim was by yesterday afternoon. I hope your lawn looks great. Right. I mean, listen, communicate. You absolutely cannot overly communicate to your customer base, your existing customer base. Man. And then if you ever start another service or add another product to your business, it would be crazy for you to have not communicated so effectively that their current customer base will overwhelm you with your new service, buying the other service, cross-sell, cross-promote as a leader product. I'm telling you, that's the way to go.
Man, that is awesome stuff. So, I got to go back and...
So don't be running the local billboard for $1,000. I'm telling you.
Yeah. I mean, I told you this, and I'm not afraid to say it. I did that as a test in December, those electronic billboards, and I sat there for 2 hours and did some analyzation myself on how many cars and how long the window was. and it was absolutely a horrible thing I did.
Yeah.
It did not. No one. The window is so small because it flips every 5-6 seconds. Right. It just makes no sense.
So don't get me wrong. When I say don't do a billboard, don't run a TV commercial, don't run a radio commercial, what I'm saying is don't do that first. Don't do that first.
No.
If you have enough budget to where you've exhausted and you're doing everything else great,
right,
then absolutely those things are effective.
Brand recognition and familiarity can come from that. There's definitely some wins in that.
Right.
But when it comes to your finite, finances you've got, you got to make a decision, and I'm with you, digitals all the way. So this has been wonderful. Can you share a couple, maybe one success story that you guys have had from either like most of our listeners are services and tradesmen, entrepreneurs, small business owners. Yeah. Can you share one to say we took? Yeah, I mean, I know you have a ton.
Absolutely. Thankfully, we have a ton. We have a very high sustainability rate here, and so we're well over 90% of the people who sign with us renew with us year after year after year. I mean, we have clients that's been with us 10 years.
Right.
Okay. And so if the majority of your listeners are service-based, so we do everything from B2B to B2C.
B2B means business to business.
Business to business. So we have clients that are in the B2B space. We have clients that are in the B2C space. So landscaping, service-based, that's all B2C. B2B would be manufacturing, distribution, service like software type of services, those types of clients, right? And we have clients in both realms, probably 60-40 B2C. Right. But a service-based, I'll give you Miller Robinson with Premier Roofing. Great friend of mine, has been a client of mine for about 4 years. In the first 2.5 years, we took them from about 1.7 million a year to a little over 8 million a year.
Wow.
And really, it's the same tactics that
we're talking about.
We're talking about here. It's the same tactics I talk about on my radio show and my podcast. It's the same tactic. What it is creating a strategy, sticking to it, trusting it, and executing on it. Now, does that mean you can't make any changes? Of course not, right? Everything's fluid.
Right, tweak here
but
and there.
Yeah, it's some tweaks. But you stay on it, you measure it, you make the tweaks, you keep on it, and you keep going, right?
Right.
And it's all based around one key word, like I said a minute ago, communication.
And you're not looking for a return in 2 weeks and pulling the plug.
Right.
You really have to be committed to the process, like you
right.
said, because it takes time for brand recognition. It takes time for people to get that email list built up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Most people don't even have an email list.
Right.
So you got an email list. How do you get an email list? Let's say you've been a business for 4 or 5 years. We run into this all the time, Alex, and they say, I've never asked for email addresses. Well, guess what? For over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I want you to get an intern, or I want you to get your scheduler. I want you to get someone, and all I want you to do is call every single one of your clients and say this. Hey, I'm going to use your company as an example. Hey, I'm Matt Thompson with Trifecta. I was just calling to thank you for your business over the last number of years. I just wanted to update our records. You're still at this address. This is obviously still your phone number. Oh, you know what? I didn't realize that we didn't have your email address. Would you mind giving it to me?
It's the absolute
98% success rate. Now, all of a sudden, within 2 weeks, you got an email list.
Right. And your business is going to go up 10%
Boom.
because you made 2 days worth of calls.
Right.
Unbelievable. That's so good, Matt. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking the time out to be on the Trifecta podcast in this episode. I want to make sure our listeners know how they can connect with you and your company Splash, because I want to make an emphasis of this. You guys can do business and do business all over the country.
All over the country.
You can do it over the internet, all over the web, and it doesn't take face-to-face.
We have clients in almost every single state.
Right.
And so we would love to do business with anybody that needs some help. Splash Omnimedia. You can go there, and you can go to subscribe to our podcast as well, learn a lot more about just this subject every single week. Yep. It's called thebrainstormradio.com. We have video, subscribe to our podcast, and just contact us, see if we can help you in any way we can. Worst case, we are so big on adding value to people,
right.
Alex, even if you aren't the right fit and we're not the right fit for you from a budget perspective, we absolutely do not mind helping you. You contact us, guaranteed a response, guaranteed some advice.
Point you in the right direction.
Period.
Right. That's awesome. That's why I love partnering with you guys, man. You guys have been a huge asset to my company, and I wanted to thank you, Matt, for being on the podcast today. Thank you so much, audience, for listening to this episode of the Trifecta Podcast. We want you guys to go out there this week, apply all this stuff, and make it happen.